Imagine this. You're on vacation, soaking up the sun on a pristine beach, when suddenly you spot a familiar face. Let me introduce you to our protagonist, Thomas. A man of simple pleasures, Thomas had decided to take a well-deserved break from the hustle and bustle of his daily grind. He found himself on a sunny beach in a distant land, a cocktail in hand, and the soft whisper of the waves in his ears. A perfect vacation, you might say. But what started as a tranquil getaway soon took an unexpected turn. As Thomas lounged on the beach, he caught sight of a man walking along the shore. This man had the same gait, the same posture, even the same salt and pepper hair. Thomas squinted, rubbed his eyes, and looked again. No, he wasn't seeing things. The man looked exactly like him. It was like staring into a mirror, but the reflection was out there, walking on the beach. A wave of confusion washed over Thomas. He felt a chill run down his spine, despite the blazing sun overhead. He questioned his sanity for a moment, wondering if the sun had finally gotten to him. Could it be a doppelganger? A look-alike? A coincidence, perhaps? His mind raced, trying to make sense of this uncanny encounter. Thomas was an only child. He had no brothers, let alone a twin. He had always been a unique entity, his own person. But now, out of the blue, he was confronted by a man who looked exactly like him. The resemblance was uncanny, unsettling even. The man on the beach turned and looked straight at Thomas. Their eyes met, and it felt like the world stood still for a moment. The man had the same piercing blue eyes, the same lines etched by time on his forehead. It was like looking into a living, breathing portrait of himself. But it wasn't just a passing resemblance. This man was his mirror image, his carbon copy, his twin. As curiosity piqued, our hero decided to approach this stranger wearing his face. The air was thick with anticipation, every step he took echoing in his ears like a dramatic drum roll. The stranger's back was turned, unaware of the impending encounter. Our hero cleared his throat, mustering the courage to break the silence. "Excuse me," he began. "You might find this strange, but..." The stranger turned, and they locked eyes. It was like looking into a mirror, their faces so identical that it was uncanny. The same deep-set eyes, the same crooked smile, the same scar just below the left eyebrow, a memento from a childhood mishap. The stranger's eyes widened in surprise, mirroring our protagonist's expression. "You could be my twin," our hero declared, his voice trembling with surprise. The stranger laughed, a sound that was eerily similar to our hero's own. "You're not the first one to say that," he responded, his voice a near-perfect echo of our hero's own. They delved into conversation, their mannerisms mimicking each other like synchronized swimmers. They shared the same taste in music, the same peculiar dislike for coriander, the same knack for finishing crossword puzzles in record time. The resemblance wasn't just skin deep, it was as if they were cut from the same cloth, a pair of puzzle pieces that fit together perfectly. With every passing moment, our hero's disbelief grew. Was this a cosmic prank? Was he dreaming? The questions swirled in his mind, creating a tornado of confusion. Just as he was about to ask the million-dollar question, the look-alike excused himself. "It's been a pleasure, but I need to be going," he said, his tone apologetic. He left our hero standing there, his mind buzzing with unanswered questions. The stranger disappeared into the crowd, leaving our hero in a whirlwind of confusion. The encounter left our protagonist with more questions than answers. In the face of this uncanny doppelganger, our protagonist was left with a puzzling conundrum that he couldn't simply ignore. He was compelled to investigate. He had to know who this man was, this mirror image of himself. His curiosity was now a force that couldn't be tamed, an itch he had to scratch. The decision was made. He would follow his twin, maintaining a safe distance to ensure he didn't arouse suspicion. He began to observe his twin's daily routines, his habits, his interactions. And as he shadowed this man who bore his face, he started to compile a picture of a life that was ordinary and unremarkable. The twin woke up at the break of dawn, had breakfast at the same corner cafe, worked at a local bookstore, and spent his evenings at a small, cozy bar. There was nothing out of the ordinary, nothing that suggested anything other than a simple, humdrum existence. Yet, our protagonist wasn't convinced. There was a nagging sensation, a gut feeling that something was amiss. Despite the seemingly mundane routines, there was an eerie familiarity to the twin's life. The corner cafe where the twin had breakfast was a spitting image of the protagonist's favorite diner back home. The bookstore where the twin worked bore an uncanny resemblance to the library where our protagonist spent countless hours. And the bar was an echo of his own favorite watering hole. It was like looking into a mirror, not just at his own face, but at his life. His twin was living a life that was eerily similar to his own, like a parallel universe playing out in front of his eyes. The same places, the same routines, the same life, just in a different city. But beneath this ordinary facade, something didn't add up. The twin was leading a life eerily similar to his own. Every clue seemed to deepen the mystery rather than solve it. As our protagonist delved deeper into the uncanny mirroring of his life with that of his mysterious twin, he found himself spiraling into a vortex of questions. The parallels were unnerving. Not only did this doppelganger bear an uncanny physical resemblance, but their lives seemed to be eerily in sync too. Our protagonist was a software engineer working long hours to perfect code that would eventually be the backbone of a groundbreaking new app. And his twin? Well, he too was a software engineer laboring away on a remarkably similar project. The similarities didn't just stop at their professional lives. The same car, a sleek silver sedan, sat in both their driveways. It was as if they had both independently walked into the same dealership and picked out the exact same model. Their tastes, too, ran in parallel lines. The protagonist's favorite dish, a spicy, tangy chicken curry, was also the twins' comfort food. They both grooved to the same kind of music, the classic rock of the 70s, a shared love for the guitar riffs and powerful vocals that defined an era. Even their quirks matched. Our protagonist had a peculiar habit of tapping his fingers in a rhythmic pattern when deep in thought. And the twin? You guessed it. He had the same idiosyncrasy. It was as if our protagonist was looking into a mirror that reflected not just his physical appearance, but his entire life. But how could this be? How could two individuals who had never met before share so many aspects of their lives? Was this a case of extreme coincidence? Or was the universe playing some sort of cosmic joke? Or even more unsettling, was there a more sinister reason behind this unnerving similarity? As he delved deeper into the mystery, our protagonist was left with more questions than answers. Yet he couldn't shake off the nagging feeling that this was more than just a bizarre coincidence. Was it merely coincidence, or was there something more sinister at play? He couldn't help but wonder. Just as our hero was about to confront his doppelganger, he stumbled upon a shocking revelation. In the dimly lit room of his twin's house, a bookshelf caught his eye, not for its grandeur or its collection of classic literature, but for a humble photo album worn with age nestled between two thick tomes. With a sense of trepidation, he pulled it out, dust particles dancing in the thin shaft of light that penetrated the room. The album was heavy, filled with an abundance of memories, yet it was a past that he couldn't recall. As he flipped through the pages, he saw himself. But it wasn't just him. He was standing next to a mirror image, his twin. They were playing in a garden, blowing out candles on a birthday cake, sporting matching outfits. Photos of them growing up together all the way through their teenage years. These pictures told a story of companionship, of shared laughter, shared tears, shared experiences. Yet he had no recollection of any of this. He felt a chill run down his spine. The pictures were undeniable proof. This man was not just a stranger with an uncanny resemblance. He was his twin brother. But why didn't he remember? Why was his past a blank slate devoid of these memories? He thought back to his parents, who had always told him he was an only child. He remembered the lonely birthdays, the empty chairs at parent-teacher meetings, the silent house that echoed his solitary footsteps. It all seemed like a cruel joke now, a stark contrast to the vibrant childhood depicted in the photos. His heart pounded in his chest, his palms sweating as he gripped the edges of the photo album. He felt like a stranger to his own life, a spectator to a story that was supposedly his. The truth was too hard to swallow, too surreal, but the evidence was right there in his hands, in the form of faded photographs and a forgotten past. As he stared at the photos, one question echoed in his mind. Why didn't he remember any of this?